it's interesting. Again, it's just there has to be a lot of whispering. It doesn't make it into the mainstream media in Europe, but a lot of whispering about what actually happened at Nord Stream.
Right.
And recently, the Danish harbor master came out and said that just a couple of days before the Nord Stream blast, he went out to the area, where the bombs were installed, deep underwater, and he found. Well, he was curious because there were ships out there, but they had turned their radios off. So what's going on? He went out there and he was told it was U.S. naval vessels, and he was told to go back and not say anything. And a couple of days later, boom. Yeah. So, I think it's time for anybody who believes, the silly Ukraine, the six people on a boat, 5 men and 1 woman on a little boat, did this, and it was some guy. It was Zelensky supporting it or whatever. They've come up with, they've kind of expanded the story. It's just clearly an effort to muddy the waters. It was clearly the U.S. Seymour Hersh was right. The U.S. said it was going to do it. The U.S. did it, and now we're getting further information confirming that. And it's, that's the secret that just can't be kept from the European people forever. Obviously a certain number of Europeans know what happened already. And that could be, the match that lights the fire at some point, because that was an attack on Europe by the U.S. I mean, it's okay with Europe's leaders, with these spineless vassals of the U.S., but I don't think it's okay with most of Europe. I'd like to think that most of Europe still has some sort of self-respect. Most Europeans.
How big was this attack? Do you know how much percentage of energy was coming through this pipeline? Because I know it's had a huge damaging effect.
Okay, nothing was actually going through at the time, but it could have supplied a huge amount. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, like half of, a lot more than's coming through Turk Stream now. I think the gas that's coming into Europe is coming through Turk Stream. And then there's also a pipeline that goes incredibly right through Kursk and through Ukraine. And that actually continues to supply gas to Europe. But I believe that that the Nord Stream would supplied more than those two put together, by a significant amount. I don't know the exact percentage. There was actually what they call 4 strings, 4 actual pipe lines underwater there, kind of 2 pairs. And 3 of the 4 were destroyed. So there is 1 string, 1 actual pipeline that could be reactivated. Now, the thing, so... so it would have made a huge. It was always there for the Germans to use. Now, I know some other pipelines were shut down. So this is something that Nord Stream could have replaced, what was lost through other pipelines. Because of the general shutdown. It was not a total 100% shutdown. Some gas is still going into Europe, but because so much of Russian supplied gas was blocked by the European governments, under U.S. pressure after the start of the SMO. Europe has been forced to import a lot of very expensive LNG from the U.S. It costs like 4 times as much, at least, as what Russian supplied gas would cost.
Yeah, you think that the Europeans will wake up? I mean, just think about if Germany or France came and blew up one of America's biggest energy infrastructure pipelines, and all of a sudden energy prices quadrupled in the United States because, and then France said, well, now you have to buy it from us, or you have to buy it from Germany at 4 times the price. It's
right.
crazy.
I mean, it's just so extraordinary. You're just shaking your head and say, how could things have come to this stage? I mean, I think there's no question like previous, probably even Merkel would have made a peep of protest. I mean, I think she's rightly regarded as a transitional figure, like between the old German chancellors that actually stood up for Germany, and the spineless worm Olaf. But I think she would have protested. She was actually supported Nord Stream and saw it through in spite of tremendous U.S. pressure. So it wasn't too long in the past that Germany was showed a little bit of independence, but now it's extraordinary. It's you stop and you kind of pinch yourself and you say, "Was am I imagining this? Could it actually be this bad?" Well, yes, it is this bad. I mean, these people are just have no sense of. You just think. I think the average person would just have some sort of sense of self-worth, not knowing anything about the economic consequences. Say, "Hey, you can't do that to us, right? We
Right.
can't do that." but but the U.S. did.
Right. Well, it sounds like there's some hope for change then, because
There was some
there
hope. Yeah.
there will be doubling down, clear doubling down from the establishment and these Western leaders, but there is enough, I think, realization and just people will, like you said, will realize that the Nord Stream story can't stay hidden forever. People will start to vote, start to have changes, so we might see some peaceful regime change. We'll see how peaceful as
Yeah, we'll see.
the
Again, it's just the the globalists have resorted to all kinds of dirty tricks and to real well threats, and they've made good on their threats. Economic penalties and more than that, outright censorship. There's been quite a bit. We talked about some in the U.S. There's obviously has been censorship. But it's been tended to be indirect. That's not to say that it doesn't matter. It's not a serious matter. Quite clearly it is. When the U.S. government is pressuring platforms to censor different content, that's a clear attack on the First Amendment. I don't think there's any question about it. But in places like Germany, you have people being arrested, for reporting the wrong things. I think there was recently some sort of channel that was very pro-Russian within Germany, and it was shut down, and the content creator was arrested. I mean, that's the kind of thing that happens. We don't hear anything about the threat to democracy. That's all fine and good, of course.